Hello friends, this is Worm, and today's Tuesday, which means it's time for another Hot Take Tuesday, and we've got a little bit of a different one because it's not so much of a hot take as it is, I guess, just talking about the whole elitist conversation. Of course, last week we heard that there is a bunch, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago, I think it's 2 weeks ago, we heard of a bunch of nerfs that were coming to the final shape, including things like Divinity, among other things. There was a bunch of nerfs that were listed. But Divinity was one of those, and of course every time Bungie does this, it's the same old thing across all levels of social media. You've got the casual players complaining about changes, the nerfs and stuff that are coming, and they always typically go back to blame streamers, content creators, Salt Grepo, stuff like that. And guys, here's the reality of it. Nerfs that come from Bungie are much more complex than just what one single person or one small group of people say and expect. Okay, like if you really think that people like Salt Grepo or other content creators have sway over what Bungie says, like, stop looking at it on a surface level, because I think that there's a psychology behind it, and it goes beyond just video games. It's with anything, okay? And that is that people like to shift the blame to one particular person or one particular group because it takes the pressure off themselves. It takes the responsibility from themselves. I mean, look at the politics, right? We blame politicians all the time for stuff, when in reality, it's not this singular politician's fault. It's much broader than that. Okay, and it's the same principle with Destiny here. Like, when Divinity was nerfed big time a couple months ago, or maybe it was a year ago, I don't exactly remember how long it was, but when that was nerfed, like, everybody blamed Salt Grepo and said, oh, like, Salt, you're the reason it got nerfed, like, we all hate Salt, blah blah blah. But like, it's not really Salt's fault, okay? Like, it's not. It is the community as a collective whole. Whenever you, do things like use one particular weapon excessively, when everybody says, hey, this is the best option for DPS, it's going to get nerfed eventually. Bungie doesn't like when things are incredibly powerful. Bungie doesn't like players to feel like they have to use one particular weapon or one particular thing because it's so strong that it dominates everything. And that's why things like Divinity get nerfed. But of course, players don't like to take that responsibility. They don't like to say, oh yeah, like, I literally have used X weapon every single time I do a raid, a nightfall, anything, but somehow it's somebody else's fault for nerfing it. And I know there's the argument I hear all the time is, oh, well, content creators and streamers and stuff like that, they have a louder voice to Bungie. They have more, their voice is heard more by Bungie. And to this I say, like, yes, this is true. But also, like, what else do streamers and content creators have a lot of that casuals don't? That's time played in the game. Okay, like, I agree that Divinity was too strong. Like, when you have to rely on Divinity to beat certain raid encounters, like, not just like, oh, it makes it easier. No, when you have to rely on it to beat certain raid encounters, it becomes problematic. Like, yes, it does need to be nerfed. And I don't say this because, and not just me, but hardcore players don't say this because we hate casuals or we, blah, blah, blah. The reason why I feel like hardcore players lean into these more hot takes, if you will, is because we have so much more time in the game. We play so many different levels of content, from the lowest level to the highest level of content, that we can see and we can interpret, hey, this is too much. This is too strong. Remember, like, in Destiny 2, like, it's about balance. We want the game to be balanced. We want it to be fun. Things like Strand Titan that trivialize bosses, like dungeon and raid bosses. I mean, of course, just a couple weeks ago, somebody soloed Pantheon, the first week of Pantheon, with Strand Titan. Like, that is incredible. That is incredibly powerful. And I think another thing that we have to look at is when players are, when players say, oh, Strand Titan needs to be nerfed, lots of people just jump in and say, oh my god, no, it doesn't need to be nerfed. Like, how dare you say you want to nerf my favorite subclass, blah, blah, blah. It's not it's not we're wanting to nerf your favorite subclass. We're wanting to nerf a particular playstyle that creates an incredibly powerful situation. Things like navigate. Hold on a second. What are you eating? Sorry, my cat was chewing on something, but that being said, we're not asking to just destroy Strand Titan, but whenever you can, like I said, trivialize like Pantheon, as a solo player, yeah, it does need to be nerfed. And I think a lot of people, they hear nerf this and they don't think about the broad scope of it. Like, really, guys, how many of you are using Strand Titan to its absolute max potential? I know the answer to that. I know the answer to that. It's maybe 1% of you. Maybe 1%. Like, in order to optimize the insane damage that you see people using Strand Titan with, it takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of just general skill in Destiny 2. It's not a problem for the average player. And so when you hear somebody say, hey, yeah, I don't think that Strand Titan should be as strong as it is, I don't think you should be able to, you know, constantly use the navigator to make a grapple tangle point and just smash a boss to death. Like, that's not necessarily like a toxic thing to say, and that's not going to affect you as a player. But going back to what I was saying, you know, hardcore players, I feel like hardcore players are more unbiased than casual players. And when you think about it, hardcore players can use not basically anything, but we can use a variety of stuff to beat high level content. We don't have to rely on Divinity or, you know, Apex Predator or, you know, insert whatever weapon that's super strong, whatever build that's super strong. We don't have to rely on those because we've been playing Destiny for so long. So whenever we say things need to be nerfed or things need to be changed, it's not coming from a I hate casual standpoint. It's coming from a balance to the game standpoint. And of course, like, casuals are going to get mad because when somebody says they you know, that their preferred weapon or whatever needs to be nerfed because it makes content easy, like, yeah, it's gonna be frustrating. Like, I know for a fact that I'm not gonna like it when they nerf Strand Titan. It's inevitable that they're going to. I'm not gonna like it because I love Strand Titan. I think it's powerful. I think it's awesome. I didn't like that they nerfed Divinity either, but at the same time, from a balance perspective, it needed to happen. And even though I didn't like it, I can say I did agree with that. And I think that so many casual players, like, you know, we're threatening them by, you know, taking away your precious whatever by saying it needs to be nerfed, and then Bungie's going to listen to us. Bungie, again, they don't listen to content creators and streamers. They don't. They look at data that they have, and when they have data saying, hey, you know what, literally everybody and their mom is using this one weapon for basically every single raid encounter, maybe it's time to change it, maybe it's time to nerf it. That's where nerfs come from. They don't come from, oh, well, we say this, we say this, we say this. Now, maybe they take some of our ideas, you know, for how you can change things or how you can, you know, nerf or even buff things. That's fine, but they're not nerfing things because a content creator said it needs to be nerfed. Like, that's an asinine thing to say. That's an asinine thing to think, because that's not how it works. It works because, you know, hardcore players can say that something needs to be nerfed because they've been playing for so long and they don't have this grand attachment to X weapon that it makes all the content doable, just nagging at us, you know, like the casual players. That's what they have. Casual players have, you know, their weapons and their loadouts that they love and adore because it allows them to get through content easier. And we just saw kind of an example of this with the whole 0 hour. People on social media were complaining that 0 hour is too hard. Even the normal version is too hard. And Bungie basically went on Reddit and said, yeah, it's supposed to be hard. It's not supposed to be a cakewalk. Like, it's not supposed to be for the faint of heart. Like, you need to have a good loadout. You need to be strong to do it. And it's not that Bungie or anybody is hating on casuals. It's that, hey, like, it was designed like this. But all the people that are making media posts, like, that's kind of showing, you know, the casual side of things. That's kind of showing the casual nature of the game. Hey, we feel like it should be easier. And of course, everybody wants everything to be easier. I want Pantheon to be easier. Week 4, I'm about to start on it right now, and I know it's gonna be a nightmare to get through it. Minus 20 power level. I'm gonna be with people who don't know what's going on, people who can't put out DPS. Like, I know it's coming, and I don't really want to do it, but I really want the title, right? Sorry, I was going off a little bit off track there, but content in Destiny 2 is not all supposed to be easy. Pantheon is not supposed to be easy. I had somebody join my Pantheon last week, 18 power, didn't have any good weapons. I was like, hey, how many times have you done this? He was like, I've done it. I've beat Rolk a couple times in the past. I was like, okay, well, you know, with respect, like, put on your best stuff. And so he put on his best stuff, and it's like, okay, like, we'll give it a shot, but I'm not seeing like this is going to end well. Sure enough, what happens? This player's damage was exceptionally low. And mind you, you know, a couple weeks ago we talked about damage output and when to kick somebody and stuff like that. When you're in Pantheon at 15 and this week at 20 minus power, there's not this, oh, well, the rest of the team should be able to make up for your 40 to 50% damage deficit. Like, that's not something that can happen. Like, that's not something that can happen unless that person who is putting out way less damage than everybody is using Divinity or maybe Tractor Cannon or something like that, right? So it's not like, this is not like trying to be toxic or elitist. Like, this is stating facts. Like, the facts are that hardcore players have more time to invest in the game. Hardcore players are less biased towards certain weapons and loadouts. That's why it's easier for us to say things like Mail of Radiance needs a nerf, Divinity needs a nerf, Strand Titan needs a nerf. And like I said, it doesn't mean I'm gonna like it when it happens, because I really like where Strand Titan is, but at the same time, for the health of the game, it needs to happen. Okay, but anyway, that's my soapbox for today. So yeah, like the video or don't like it, I don't care. All right, watch the videos on the end screen. I'll see y'all next time. Bye for now.